Not at all. I mean, for me personally, I've benefited. I love the Bhagavad Gita. I benefited from it a lot. I think there's so many amazing insights, like really life-changing, not an exaggeration. It has changed my life, the Bhagavad Gita. And when I look at Patanjali's teachings, they are incredibly brilliant as far as understanding meditation. So deep. But again, everybody goes to chapter 2 of the text where they talk about these yamas and niyamas, like these do's and don'ts and these rules. And they get lost in that. And they bypass chapter 1, which is where he discusses meditation, which has a tremendous depth. And so I do consider those works very, very, very valuable. But again, I don't want to sound like I'm just criticizing or putting down, but to try to connect those with Hatha Yoga, it really is to do violence to history, because that's not how Hatha Yoga developed. Hatha Yoga is a late form of yoga. In the evolution of yoga, we can talk about perhaps around 2,800 years or so. Hatha Yoga appeared in the 11th century. So it's very recent, in the big picture. And I think it would be much more useful for students to give more emphasis to the original sources of Hatha Yoga than to study just piecemeal 2 works from the previous history, privileging the Bhagavad Gita, Patanjali. And what happens, this goes back to the late 60s, 70s, a long time ago, when Hatha Yoga started becoming more popular, people started studying yoga. In those days, nobody had studied the whole history of yoga, which is not a topic. Nobody had the full understanding of the evolution of the history. So naturally, if people went to study, what would they study? Well, some of the most popular works. So that's how you get the Bhagavad Gita and Patanjali into the picture there. But that, I could understand that 40 years ago, right? But now, or actually 50 years now that I think about it, we are in 2020, it's 50 years. So, but now we know much better, and I think this is what I'm saying, that I don't see the teacher training programs keeping up with the evolution of our knowledge, our understanding of history, and of the evolution of yoga and all of that. They are stuck in a time warp, 50 years ago. So it's time to really revamp the way we teach yoga, particularly to the teachers, so then they can pass that on to others.